his assistant professor from King's College London. He will give us a presentation. The topic is scaling cryptocurrency via state channel. Just welcome, Patrick.
So I'll just start to the slide now. So I've got one question, I guess. So who's heard of a state channel before? Raise your hand if you've heard of state channels. Yeah, some people have heard of state channels. That's really exciting then. Okay, so yeah, my name is Patrick McCorry. I'm at King's College London. And basically the question is, how can we scale cryptocurrencies? So I did this in collaboration with lots of different people, including Andrew Miller, Adrian Bentoff, Sarah Bakshi, Chris Buckland, who's going to be in London, Sarah Winkeljohn, and Carl Robust. And without these guys, I obviously wouldn't be here, because you can't build anything without your collaborators. So what am I going to present today? Well, as most people in this room are aware, cryptocurrencies do not scale. Bitcoin can support, oh sorry, I lost my slide. Bitcoin can support 7 transactions per second, and Ethereum can support roughly 12 transactions per second. But that's a bit of a misnomer. It really depends on the smart contract that's being executed. So the question is, why don't cryptocurrencies scale? What is the fundamental problem that's going on? I mean, why can't we do 5,000 transactions per second? Well, the thing is that we can't do, let's just say we change the blockchain protocol, we throw a DAG in there, we could probably achieve 5,000 transactions per second. And the idea is that if we can achieve 5,000 transactions per second, then we'd assume the transaction fees would be low. It may cost a cent for every transaction. And that's good. If we can scale, we can then increase the number of users and the affordability of transactions. But the problem is, if we can support 5,000 transactions per second, then, this humble little MacBook, and my little MacBook Air, it doesn't have, the bandwidth, the storage, or the computational resources to verify every single transaction on the network. So while we can increase the number of users, by having 5,000 transactions per second, we actually reduce the number or the diversity of peers who can verify the entire network. If we're doing 5,000 transactions per second, maybe only a handful of people in the world could validate the blockchain and hold the miners accountable. Now on the other side of it, if we go to the Bitcoin world, if you only have 1 megabyte blocks, then you can only support 5 transactions per second. So what's good about that is that on my MacBook Air, I can still download the entire Bitcoin blockchain, and I can still validate every single transaction that's ever happened on my laptop. But as we've seen this time last year, if Bitcoin gets popular, we go from 5 cents to $20. So raise your hand if you're willing to pay $20 for a transaction fee. Anyone, one person, we got the Bitcoin next in this room. So with that in mind, how can we scale cryptocurrencies? So the first solution is, let's forget about that. Let's not care about that problem at all. Let's make it centralized. There's one person, they sign blocks, they pump it out, and we just trust them. But we're cypherpunks. We don't want a centralized solution. We want a distributed solution. We want a solution that will work globally across the world. Because that's where we get the self-enforcing nature of it. The next part is, okay, why don't we just tweak the consensus protocol? Why don't we use BPFT? We could throw a DAG in there, change the blockchain protocol, and we could achieve 5,000 transactions per second. But if we do that, then we run into that problem. We get the throughput, but now we reduce who can verify the network and hold the maintainers accountable. So the next approach is sharding. So raise your hand if you've heard of sharding before. Okay, half the room, that's good. So sharding is the idea where I have distinct processing areas. One shard is just for hotel bookings. The second shard is just for train bookings. If I only care about hotel bookings, I only look at this one shard. If I only care about train bookings, I just look at this shard. Now, what we're doing there is actually distributing. We're distributing out the task of validation. You only validate what you care about. But the worst case scenario is that I care about hotel bookings and train bookings. And that's quite important for cross-shard communication as well. So then I distribute it out, but in the worst case, we run back into that problem again for layer 1 scaling. So this is why I'm interested in off-chain and layer 2. Because what layer 2 does is that it simply reduces the load on the network. Instead of sending every transaction to the network, we process most of the transactions locally amongst ourselves. You know, there's 5 people, we deposit coins on the blockchain, and then 5 of us, the 5 people, will just locally run the smart contract between us. And we don't talk to the global network. And then at the very end, we broadcast the final transaction, and we all get our coins. So we just reduce the load on the network. And that is one way we can scale the network as well, by reducing what it needs to do. So there's 2 ways to do this. There's a side chain, which I won't look at today. I'm going to focus on local consensus and the idea of a channel. So there's lots of different channel protocols, and they first emerged in Bitcoin. The first one was called Spielman payment channels, which just facilitates Alice paying Bob one-way payments. Then we had duplex micropayment channels and lightning channels. And I'll explain later on the innovation behind these channels at the very end. But then in Ethereum, we also have routing channels. So these 4 payment channels, they're only for 2 parties, and they only care about payments. You know, Alice paying Bob and Bob paying Alice. Now, what's emerged since Ethereum came along is the idea of a state channel. A state channel is not just for payments. We could do gaming, voting, auctions between a small group of parties. So Sprites channels was thanks to Andrew Miller and myself. Then we have Perun channels, counterfactual channels, and what I'll present today is Kitsune channels, which is the most recent one from our ButterChip paper. And it's also the most simple example of a state channel to think about. So that's one of the motivations for our work, was to keep it very simple so most people can understand it. So the question is, what is a state channel? So earlier this year, we had a workshop in Berlin, which Eva went to, I guess. I think some nervous people went to it as well. Yeah, there you go, yeah, I remember that, yeah, okay. So we had this workshop anyway, where we had, basically, this time last year, I was in a coffee shop, and I thought, well, there's 7 different teams in the world, or 6 different teams, all working on state channels. But nobody talks to anyone else. So we organized this Berlin workshop to bring everyone together, and everyone could present their solutions. And what I realized is that we all have different terminology, and we all have different definitions for what a state channel is. So even amongst our small group of friends, we don't agree what it is. So I'm going to give you my best opinion of what a state channel is. A state channel is the following. We could have a group of parties, and they lock coins onto the blockchain. Okay? And now, these group of parties could install an app. That's to say, they want to play poker. They all agree they're going to play poker off-chain, locally amongst themselves. And now for every move in the poker game, so if Alice will play her hand, everybody has to agree that she played her hand. So for every single move, everybody must agree that that move has happened. And that's basically the idea behind a state channel. Every party will collectively authorize the new state of an application locally amongst themselves. So all 5 people will agree to every single move in the poker game. Now, what if one person doesn't cooperate? Let's say Alice plays her hand and she is just about to beat Bob at poker. Why would Bob ever agree to that state update? Bob could just refuse to sign, and now the application cannot continue off-chain. The blockchain gives us 2 guarantees. The first one is safety. anyone can trigger a dispute and basically get the coins they deserve on the blockchain. Now that's for payment channels. Okay, if I have 5 coins locked up with someone and I want to get my payment, I'll always be able to get it via the blockchain. Now state channels introduce this new requirement called liveness. So if we're playing poker, Alice is about to be Bob. Bob doesn't cooperate. What Alice should be able to do is trigger a dispute, send the poker game, and then just finish the poker game via the blockchain. So we guarantee that the application will always finish, that we can always finish the poker game. That is the guarantee the blockchain will give us. Is everyone with me so far? Any questions or? Okay, good. So that's the idea behind the state channel. Now over the summer, what I really wanted to do was to build a state channel, build an application, deploy it, and actually just work out the following. Given an existing smart contract, what are the minimal modifications required before an application can be deployed as a state channel? So if I have a ButterChip game, how do I modify it so it will work in a state channel? What applications make sense in a state channel? And I'll allude to this one at the very end. And finally, what are the inherent weaknesses? So what's really good about a state channel is that if we're playing poker, there's no transaction fees because we're doing it locally between ourselves. We never talk to the blockchain. And it's also really fast. We don't care about the blockchain or the blockchain latency. As long as everybody signs the update, that is our latency. So they're very fast for applications. But they don't come for free. So as I alluded to, we built this 2-player game ButterChip. So if you guys ever played ButterChip before, raise your hands if you know ButterChip. Some people! No, because I did this in Vietnam, and no one's ever played ButterChip in Vietnam. But you don't really need to know how the game works. ButterChip is a 2-player game. Okay? You know, we place our ships, and it's turn-based. Alice will attack Bob's battleship, and then Bob will try to attack Alice's battleship. That's all that really matters. 2 players, and it is turn-based. So what we have are 2 different smart contracts. One is the application smart contract. This is just a program on the blockchain, and it's our ButterChip game. So ButterChip was designed to run on the blockchain as normal. If we deployed it today, we could play ButterChip via the blockchain, and it would work as a normal smart contract. And we modified it slightly so it would work inside a state channel as well. And then we have the state channel contract that has this little wizard hat as well, because it's a wizard. So all the state channel cares about is it opens the channel, and then it waits around for a dispute. If there's a dispute, it will work out the final state that everybody agreed off-chain, and then redeploy the ButterChip key. But this will become clear very soon. So one way to set up a state channel is let's assume the ButterChip game is already deployed in the blockchain. Okay? The ButterChip game and the smart contract is already on the blockchain. Alice and Bob, they both agree to lock up the ButterChip game and to play it within a state channel. So they broadcast their little signed message, it gets accepted into the blockchain, the state channel contract is deployed, the ButterChip game is locked up, so now the smart contract on Ethereum, all the functionality is frozen. It doesn't work on Ethereum anymore. Now we're forced to play within the state channel. Okay, so how do we play ButterChip off-chain? So it's really easy. So the first state is Alice's turn. And this is state 0. So every single state has a counter. Okay? Now it's Alice's turn to take a shot at Bob's battleship. So if you squint hard enough, and if you're in the seat of Alice, you're taking a shot from a real battleship. You know, this is a really exciting game for them to play within a state channel. Anyway, So what Alice will do is that she gets the current state of the game. Then she gets a command, the attack command. She's going to attack a battleship. She runs the game herself, she does the execution, and she computes the new state of the game, where she has taken her shot. She will sign the new state of the game, and she will sign the command. And she'll give both to Bob. She gives over this and the attack command, and they're both signed by Alice. Now what Bob will do is Bob will execute the command as well. He gets the current state of the game, the command, he executes it, he gets the new state of the game, and he compares this with what he got from Alice. He compares it with what he got from Alice. If they're both the same, he'll sign it and give this back to Alice. Okay? So they effectively will exchange signatures on the new state of the game. And once they have exchanged signatures, state 0 is now invalid. Okay? So the state channel contract will accept the state with the largest counter. So this is state 1. It's the largest state that's been agreed so far. So this is what will be accepted into the blockchain, assuming both parties have signed it. Now the new state of the game is that it's Bob's turn. So now Bob needs to reveal if Alice hit water, hit a ship, or sank his battleship. Okay? So Bob will send over the command and the new state of the game. And they're both signed. And now Alice, that should be revealed, that doesn't matter. But basically Alice will compute the new state. And now we're going to work out, has Alice hit a ship? Yes. She sank Bob's last battleship. Okay? So now Alice has won the game. They've both exchanged signatures for this. And the new state of the game, state 2, is that Alice has won and both parties have signed the new state. So that's basically how you play Battleship inside a state channel in a very concise nutshell. Now what I did allude to is, what are they actually signing? Okay? So they aren't actually signing the full state itself. What they're signing is the hash of the state. Okay? You get the game state, you can also have this random number if you want, and you can hash it, and you just sign the hash. So what each party sends across is a hash, and not the full game state itself. So that's really efficient. It's really 32 bytes. And also they sign this counter. So that goes state 0, state 1, state 2, with increments every round. Okay? And obviously the state channel contract will accept the message with the largest counter. And I'll explain how that works now. Because that looks a bit too good to be true. Why would Bob ever sign the new state where he just lost the battleship to? If he has a $100 bet, he just signed away $100. So why would he ever do that? Every single state channel comes with a dispute process, as I mentioned before. So if one party doesn't cooperate, and if the channel breaks down for whatever reason, Alice could trigger a dispute on the blockchain in the following way. Okay? So Alice will send a transaction, broadcast it to the network, and she'll initiate a dispute. Okay? Now the state channel contract will provide a fixed time period for both Alice and Bob to respond. So what Alice will do is, Alice will send the latest state of the battleship game where she's just about to win. The final state they both signed was the state where it's Bob's turn to reveal, the final battleship. So Alice will send the final state that both parties agreed. After the fixed time period, anyone can resolve the dispute, and this would basically say, I accept the state with the largest counter, and that's it. Now what happens is that Alice can redeploy the battleship game, so you can opt in with this state, and then they can just finish the battleship game via the blockchain. That's basically how this works in a nutshell. Is everyone with me so far? Yeah, awesome, cool. But even this doesn't come for free. You know, that's pretty annoying. Because now we have this thing called the always online assumption. So Alice and Bob, they both must remain online and fully synchronized with the network. Because what both parties need to do is to watch out for disputes. So I'll give you an example of this. Let's just say Alice has won 5 ButterChip games, she's won $1,000, and now she's going to go to sleep. Alice is going to dream about Lambos, because she's just won $1,000. Now while she's asleep, Bob is malicious, and he wants to get his $1,000 back. So he wants to pretend that the 5 games never happened. So what he's going to do is broadcast an older state of the game that will give him back his $1,000. So Bob will trigger a dispute. He'll send the older game state that will effectively reverse all 5 ButterChip games. And now we wait. You know, there's this fixed time period for Alice to respond. So the block's ticking away, you know, tick, tick, tick. Now it's a tense moment, you know. Is Bob going to get away with it? Is Bob going to get his $1,000 back? Will Alice come back online and resolve the dispute and save her $1,000? Of course she's going to wake up. She's going to send the latest game state where she owns the $1,000. But that's really annoying, because what we call this is an execution fork. Because what Bob effectively tried to do was send an older game state, get it accepted, and then withdraw all the money. So even if Alice comes back online later on, and even if she sends the latest game state, it no longer matters, because all the money is gone. So that's called an execution fork. So she has to be online and always ready to respond at the right time. So the question is, you know, we can't get rid of this. This dispute process is inherent of any basically layer 2 solution so far. So the question is, can we help alleviate this new security requirement? And me and others started thinking about this roughly this time last year. And this is where Pisa came from. So Pisa is a leaning tower in Italy. Although I'm not very good at Photoshop, so it's leaning the wrong way. It should be leaning towards the moon. But yeah, it doesn't matter anyway, we can accept that. But Pisa is basically an accountable third party. Yeah, so the idea is that Alice should be able to hire Pisa before going offline. If Bob tries to cheat, then Pisa should always respond on Alice's behalf. So this third party will look out for disputes on your behalf, and then just responds when there's any trouble. So what we want is state privacy. If I hire Pisa, Pisa should not be aware of what app I'm running or what the current state of the app is. So we get state privacy in this solution, and I'll explain shortly how. We should also get fair exchange. So if the customer, Alice, if she pays Pisa, she should also get a signed receipt that she has hired Pisa. So she has evidence that she's hired this third party. We should have order one storage. So if the customer hires Pisa 1,000 times, Pisa should only have to store one job, not every job. And that, in practice, that's about 162 bytes. So it's really efficient what Pisa needs to store per customer. And finally, recourse as a financial deterrent. So you hire Pisa, Alice goes offline. What if Pisa also cheats and doesn't respond on Alice's behalf? Then when Alice comes back online, she has evidence that Pisa has cheated, and she should be able to penalize Pisa. So now there's financial accountability, and I'll explain that now. So Pisa in a nutshell, there's 2 contracts again. This is the channel contract that we just presented, that only cares about hashes, signatures, and counters, and the Pisa contract. And Pisa basically only does two things. It stores a large security deposit from the accountable third party, and the Pisa contract just waits around. If anyone can prove this accountable third party has cheated, then it will penalize the accountable third party and freeze this very large security deposit. Okay, so how do we set up Pisa? It's really straightforward. This is the accountable third party. He has a smiley face because he's going to make some money. He sends a very large security deposit to Pisa. And now that's locked in. And that's locked in, let's say, for a month, 2 months, some very long time period. And now Pisa's ready to start accepting jobs. So how do we achieve state privacy? Well, as I mentioned before, thanks to the way the state channel is designed, all we have to send Pisa is a signature from every party, the hash of the state, and the counter. And that's all Pisa has to store. And Pisa only has to store this job with the largest counter as well. So if I give 1,000 appointments to Pisa, Pisa will only store the job with the highest counter. So that's also really nice. Okay. So now the next question is, how do we pay Pisa? And at the same time, how do I get a signed receipt that I've hired Pisa as well? So what I should highlight is that every time we hire Pisa, we can do this off-chain as well. We could do it via a payment network. So who's heard of Lightning or Raiden before? Raise your hand if you know Lightning or Raiden. Some people. Okay. So basically, the idea is that with Lightning and Raiden, there's like a network of channels. And if I want to pay Yvonne over there, and me and Yvonne don't have a channel, I should find a way to connect us off-chain, and then pay her off-chain as well. So all this can be kept off-chain. All payments are kept off-chain. Or what we could also have, which I like very much, is we could actually pay Pisa using a dedicated one-way payment channel. So the idea is that the customer will lock up, let's just say, $100 with Pisa. And now, once I've locked up the coins, I can start paying Pisa off-chain. I can give Pisa $1, $1, $1, $1 for every time I hire Pisa. And this is all off-chain. And one-way payment channels have this beautiful property where Alice goes offline, Pisa still can't steal their money. Pisa can only take the coins from the channel that they deserve. So if I promised Pisa 10 coins, that's all Pisa can take from the one-way payment channel. So I'm really against explaining that today at the talk. But one-way payment channels have that nice feature. The sender can go offline and their money can't be stolen.
But what if the payment channel, the Pisa, like he's malicious and start a dispute with the.
Yep. So the thing with one-way payment channels is it relies on something called replace by incentive. So a good example is that Alice has 100 coins in the channel, Pisa has 0. Now the only way we can redeem this payment, or Pisa can redeem the payment, is that a signature from me. So Pisa needs 2 signatures, one from the sender and one from Pisa. So as the sender, what I do is I say, Pisa, I'll sign a payment where I get 99 coins and you get 1 coin. I sign it and I give that to Pisa. So every time Pisa gets a new payment, my balance goes down and the Pisa balance goes up. Pisa has the incentive to broadcast the final payment they received, because that will pay them those coins. But other than that, I'll get refunded all my coins. So one-way payment channel is really beautiful that way. It's the only channel that can do that so far. Anyway, what I'll also say for this talk, just to simplify the presentation, Pisa is already aware of where the state channel is on the network, and the appointment information has been pre-arranged. You know, we've agreed how much to pay Pisa and how long Pisa is going to watch the channel for. If Pisa is going to watch it for a month, or 5 hours, or forever. Cool. Oh, that slide shouldn't be there. Let's ignore that. I was working on that last night and decided against it. Anyway, so how do we hire Pisa? So what the customer will do is send an appointment to the accountable third party. This is the signatures, the state hash, and the counter. So this is exactly what should be used to resolve a dispute. Okay? Pisa will check the appointment. Pisa looks at the state channel contract, they look at the appointment they got from the customer, and they say, yep, if there was a dispute, I can broadcast this and I can settle the dispute. So they check themselves that this is a good appointment, that they can use it. Afterwards, the accountable third party will send over the signed receipt. This includes the appointment information, and it'll also include this new hash that we call the receipt hash. So what this third party will do is compute a random number, that's called RS for now. They'll hash it, and they'll include the hash here as well. And you'll see very shortly why that's needed. Now at this point, the accountable third party is aware of the job, and the customer has a signed receipt that the accountable third party has agreed to watch the job. But this receipt is not yet being ratified. So what happens now is that the customer is going to send a conditional transfer to the accountable third party. And it works as the following. If this accountable third party reveals the secret of that receipt hash, so that secret S or R, whatever letter you want to use, if they reveal this secret before a timeout, they're guaranteed these coins. Okay? So now what could happen is that the accountable third party reveals the secret, the BNB ball will say, okay, I've got the receipt, I've got the signed receipt, does S match this hash? If that adds up and then they match, now the customer has a signed and ratified signed receipt. This is enough evidence that the Bob or the customer has actually paid Pisa to watch the job. And at the very same time, because of this conditional transfer, as long as the third party reveals this secret before the timeout, they'll always get the coins. In the ideal case, the accountable third party will reveal this off-chain, both parties cooperate, and they remove the condition. And Pisa just gets the payment. If the customer doesn't cooperate, then this conditional transfer can be broadcast to the network, Pisa can reveal S, and they're always guaranteed their payment via the blockchain. So what's really nice here is that we're actually using a payment channel to do the fair exchange. So Pisa always gets paid, and the customer always gets this ratified receipt. If that wasn't clear, don't worry about it too much. The main point here is that we can do the payments off-chain, and we get a ratified receipt, and Pisa always gets paid. So that's really nice. Okay. As I mentioned, that can be resolved via the blockchain as well. Now the next question is, what if Bob and Pisa collude to cheat Alice? Okay? So Bob's really evil, he has these weird horns, and he triggers a dispute in the state channel while Alice is offline. He broadcasts the older state of the game, where he's going to get his money back. Now what should happen is, Pisa should respond. Pisa should broadcast the appointment that they got from the customer. And this would resolve the dispute. But Pisa doesn't do it. And Bob gets away with it. Bob sends the older state, it gets accepted, and he takes his 1,000 coins from the channel. And Pisa could have stepped in, but Pisa didn't. Now, that's pretty annoying for Alice. But it isn't too late. She has evidence that Pisa has cheated. Alice has a signed and ratified receipt from Pisa that they agreed to watch the child on her behalf. And she now also has this dispute record on the blockchain as well. That a dispute happened and Pisa could have resolved it. So what Alice will do is send the signed and ratified receipt to the contract. the contract will look at it and say, yep, this was signed by the accountable third party. Let's look up the disputes. So it'll request the disputes from the state channel contract. The state channel contract will reply with all the disputes that have occurred. The PISA contract can then say, okay, here's all the disputes that have occurred in the state channel. In this case, there will only be one. Let's look at the signed receipt. Could the accountable third party resolve the dispute? And obviously it's quite easy to see, yep, they could have resolved the dispute and they didn't do it. So unfortunately, the PISA contract will burn all of the money. It'll be completely frozen and he's lost his large security deposit. So now he's sad with a little tear. Revenge is sweet. Now there's an alternative scheme where we could compensate Alice from this large security deposit. Maybe she'll get one of these ETH and not all of them. Now, I can talk about this during FAQ if you want, but this comes with like a trade-off. If you compensate Alice, then you also weaken the financial deterrent as well. I can explain that afterwards. But regardless, you could compensate or you could burn, whatever you think is more reasonable, or what security guarantees you want. Anyway.
So what if Visa can get more from Bob?
Of course. So what could happen is that, PISA will only cooperate as long as they can't get a positive payoff. If they collude with Bob, and they make more money colluding with Bob, then actually, they won't resolve the dispute. And that's a big problem. So there's two ways people try to get around this. So our way is to have this large security deposit. If they put down $10,000, let's say, or $5,000, then that should hopefully be enough for most state channel applications. On the other hand, what people have been looking at is this bond approach, where there's no security deposit at all. The idea is that I hire 5 towers, and if they resolve the dispute, they pick up the reward that way. Now the issue there is that reward is very small. That would be $10. So if I bribe each tower $20 each, then it's much easier to get a positive payoff. So that's the 2 ways you can do this. Per dispute you get paid, or you have this large security deposit. I like to think this is a bit better in terms of financial deterrent. Trying to bribe $5,000 as opposed to $10 is financially harder to do. But anyway, there's lots of different ways you can construct this. So PISA isn't the first watching service. So we had Monitor from Scaling Bitcoin 2016. And this was only focused on Bitcoin. And their whole goal was just data privacy. I'm Alice, I get my state, I encrypt it, I send this encrypted blob to the monitor. If there's a dispute, the monitor should be able to decrypt it and resolve it on my behalf. The issue is that there's no way for the monitor to verify that this is a real appointment. So if I send 1,000 encrypted blobs to the monitor, that's just junk, the monitor has no way to distinguish if this can be used to resolve a dispute. So practically it doesn't work. There's order and storage, and you could be storing junk and you have no idea. So that's not very great. But it's deployable today on Bitcoin. That's the upside to it. The other one was mostly follows, I guess, similar to PISA. It's Watchtower for Lightning as well. So what's quirky about Watchtower is that it's not deployable today. It relies on a new consensus rule in Bitcoin. And this new consensus rule actually makes the Lightning Network or Lightning channels very similar to state channels, where you basically sign a counter for every new state. You can't do that in Bitcoin today. If they can do that in Bitcoin, then that's how they basically do what we do. You sign the hash and the counter, and that's how the Watchtower can also verify they can also always resolve disputes. And in that case, that's also how they get order 1 storage. Because they just store the hash with the largest counter. But that's the basic idea there. So if there's a new consensus rule in Bitcoin, Watchtower could work, and it actually looks much more like a state channel than a normal Bitcoin payment channel. Now, the whole point of PISA is the add in this accountability. So 1, there's evidence that we've actually hired the tower. So in Watchtower today, there's no evidence that you've actually hired the Watchtower to watch the channel on your behalf. And also that financial deterrent as well. You know, if Pisa cheats, you can always punish Pisa as well. So I always like what I like to do now is I design, you know, protocols for Ethereum, because all I have to do is think about the concept and then design the algorithm. And then I think back to say, how can I design this for Bitcoin? You know, what can we take away and what we work with Bitcoin? So this, you know, the signed receipt and the fair exchange of the payment, that would also work with Bitcoin. So while we built Pisa, we also improved Watchtower a bit as well. Because now we can do the signed receipt trick. Of course, because Bitcoin has no state, you cannot get this financial deterrent in Bitcoin. You know, that relies on some stateful contract out there. Okay, so that's the nutshell behind Pisa. What am I doing for time, by the way? Oh, 30 minutes.
Actually, it's maybe 5 or 5 minutes.
10 minutes, that's perfect, okay. 10 minutes is fine. So, final thoughts on future work. Okay? So state channels are really exciting. No latency, no fees, 2 transactions on the blockchain. We set up the channel. Our ButterChip game requires 200 transactions. We do all of this off-chain, and then we just turn off the channel when we're finished. Okay? But actually, at the Berlin workshop, this dilemma came up. So L4 and Funfair were having this debate. And the question is the following. If the player is about to win a $10 bet, but the counterparty has stopped responding to the channel, then is it worthwhile for the player to turn off the channel, trigger the dispute process, reactivate the application, and win the $10 bet if it causes $100 to do that process? Obviously that doesn't make sense. So what they were really arguing about was, if we're designing state channels, do we try to minimize what we keep off-chain? Or do we try to minimize what we keep on-chain? So the spoiler is that, you know, sending the full game state isn't actually that bad. It costs us about $150, or $1.50. The real problem is the liveness requirement for state channels. What do I mean by that? The worst case scenario is that one player will turn on the channel, then there's 2 or 3 transactions, you know, they install the ButterChip game, set up the bet, and start playing ButterChip. Then, Bob doesn't cooperate, we have to turn off the channel, and we just have to finish the ButterChip game via the blockchain. Now both players have a $100 bet, and they have to, you know, perform 200 transactions on Ethereum. Now, where's the really, really, really bad worst case? So every transaction, every move in the game, you now have to pay a transaction fee. And now you have to worry about blockchain latency as well. That's about 5 to 10 minutes per move. So Bob's dominant strategy is to say, are you ready to pay $24 and wait around for 16 hours to finish the ButterChip game? So I'm going to ask you guys, if you had a $100 bet, would you play ButterChip for 16 hours? Raise your hand. No one. Exactly? Okay, you would. Ethereum Maximus. State channel Maximus. I'm only joking. But yeah, not many people would. So Alice is angry. And now Bob's best strategy is just to force close the channel and just hope they give up. And if he's a bot, then that's even easier, because that's not a human anymore. It's a bot playing this game. So anyway, the question is, how do we get around that problem? So some people say, throw a reputation system in there. You know, you're only going to play games with players with reputation. But building a reputation system on Ethereum, or sorry, for state channels, is a non-trivial problem. Why is this? Because if the channel fails and the channel is closed, we can see who closed the channel. We can see that Alice has closed the channel, but we don't know why. Maybe Bob didn't sign a state update, or maybe Alice is lying. We have no mechanism to find out why the channel closed. If we can't do that, then you have to punish both players every time a channel fails. But that makes it difficult to build a reputation system. So another mechanism is, okay, how do we induce cooperative behavior such that it is never a dominant strategy to force close a channel? You know, so I'm playing a game, I should always want to keep the channel open. And at the same time, an honest party should never be discouraged from closing the channel either. Now, my gut feeling and my intuition from this work has told me that layer 2 is basically restricted by layer 1. This will only ever make sense if a smart contract, basically, this only makes sense if a smart contract is reasonable to execute on layer 1. And I'm willing to execute the smart contract on layer 1. Then when we take it to layer 2, Bob will never want to force close the channel because I'm always willing to finish it via the blockchain anyway. So he no longer has that advantage. So this is why I don't like to call state channels a scaling solution anymore. They scale in a different way. They don't let us do applications that are crazy like ButterChip, but they allow us to optimistically run our smart contracts locally between ourselves or off-chain, assuming they're already reasonably executed anyway. And finally, what would be nice as well as a nice feature is blockchain congestion. So what happens is that if the fee goes from 20 cents to $20, maybe if Bob triggers a dispute, it's too expensive for me to resolve the dispute now because it would cost me $20 to resolve that dispute. What would be nice is a new opcode where when I try to resolve the dispute, it will look back and say, okay, in the past 10,000 blocks, were there at least 1,000 blocks where it was affordable for me to resolve that dispute? So that's a current work in progress, and I can talk about that if people want me to later. But I think that's doable. I built this taxonomy last night, so this is where I'm going to start wrapping up. So I want to give you a very brief overview of this history. But take this with a pinch of salt. So I did this on the plane while I was drinking beer, you know, so what I really just want to highlight is we have, you know, the 3 Bitcoin payment channels. And over the period of 2 years, the real big innovation was to remove the expiry time so a channel could remain open forever. Was to remove the limitation on throughput. See, like this year, the sender's deposit is the maximum you can send within a channel. We're likely to get rid of that limit. And finally, to support bidirectional payments as well. That took us 2 years, literally, not me, but others 2 years to do in Bitcoin. And that's because they were mostly fighting Bitcoin to make it do something that Bitcoin really doesn't want to do. And then we have writing come along in 2016. And thanks to the flexibility of Ethereum, they could achieve all the goals in 2015 with a very cute approach, using the 2 Spielman channels together. In 2017, we started to see the real state channel constructions. If you were going to read the paper, you can start building the Darmstadt team of Lisa and Christina. So these were the first state channels that would allow you to start building auctions in poker. Okay, so the main difference is that Sprites never focused on trying to close the channel. Basically, every dispute process was just executed command. Where Perun focused on closing the channel and then redeploying the app on the blockchain, as I presented today. Okay, now Perun have updated their specifications several times. You know, there's actually now 2 academic papers on it. But they supported installing apps off-chain, and they focused on closing the channel after a dispute. Then Pisa came along. So Pisa was at Leaning Tower, and what we did was that we modified Sprites so the state channel is application agnostic. So you can have this one state channel contract that would work with any application. You know, ButterChip, poker, whatever you want. So that was like the big innovation for the Sprites, or for our Pisa paper. That was one of the contributions. And then we have counterfactual. And counterfactual have been around for about 2 years, but their spec have also changed quite a lot over 2 years. So I'm time-stamping this for 2018, because that's the protocol I'm aware of how that works today. And they are actually quite similar to the Sprites. They rely on commands. They don't close the channel per se. But they actually improve Sprites a little bit as well. I'm not really going into the detail now, but I think they've actually improved it quite a bit, which is nice. And I spoke to them over the summer, and I gave them some tips, and now their stuff is also application agnostic. And finally, Kasoon was from the ButterChip game. That's what I presented today. And there's only 2 more that I have to go through. Seller, who are actually in Shanghai right now, I guess you guys may know more already. He's basically doing what counterfactual L4 are doing as well, installing apps off chain and then releasing them via the blockchain. And then someone mentioned Funfair earlier to me. And Funfair purposely don't support concurrent apps in their state channel. So the idea is that in the state channel, we can install poker, we can install ButterChip, payment channel, and keep all of this off chain. Funfair don't do this on purpose because they want to be able to reward the game maker. So if you make a casino game and I use it in a state channel, they want state channels to only have one app. So the game maker always gets fairly paid. And they haven't released their code, so I don't know if it's application agnostic or not. I've been told it is, but I don't know, so I put a black tick there. But that's basically the summary, very briefly over the period of 2 to 3 years. Remember, take this with a pinch of salt, because I did this last night when I was drinking beer. And this would probably change over time as I get confirmed with other people. But the whole point here is that we know how to build state channels. Okay? We are on the verge of practical and deployable state channels. Magic unicorns need not apply. We don't need magic unicorns. There's still research problems. As I mentioned, how do we induce cooperative behavior? And that will be really useful for you guys in practice, but we can build them and start building really cool apps in them as well. So that's basically the summary of this talk. So obviously I couldn't have done it without my wonderful collaborators. Basically we have 3 papers in this area. Sprites, which was one of the first state channel constructions. We have Pisa, the first accountable third-party watching service. And we have Kitsu, which was an application agnostic state channel, which was basically, what is the simplest state channel contract can we have? So that's about like 15 lines of code or something. It's extremely simple as a state channel. And there's also the case study of why ButterChip doesn't work very well. And I've also got to thank my sponsors, the Ethereum Foundation grants, the ECF, and the Research Institute. Because thanks to them I can hire people and try to bring this research to practice as well. And do more research in the area as well. So thank you very much for listening, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Franklin. It's really excellent. So, do you have any questions, or shall we take a break before next presentation?
Questions?
Okay, questions?
Yeah, so regarding the pizza protocol,
Yeah.
does it support the custodians to be a for people instead of just like a federation?
What was
The
that?
federation, I mean can the custodians to be like 3 people, and they do the custody work like
Yeah.
8 hours a day in turn.
Yeah,
And
so-
pizza supports some mechanism to take each of them accountable instead of the whole.
Yep, so there's 2 ways to think about this. So what's really nice about Pisa is that it's designed as a single party solution. Okay, so if you want to tomorrow, you could run a Pisa service, and if there's only one Pisa, Pisa's going to make all of the money. Once one person starts making money, we'll get 2 Pisas, and 3 Pisas, and 4 Pisas, and we can build a network effect from that. We don't rely on a network for Pisa to work. But what you can also do is build a distributed watching service. So actually what we can do, in a fair way, I haven't published it yet, is that basically a customer could hire, for example, 10 watching services. So basically what happens is that there's a customer, there's a non-trusted coordinator, and there's N watchers. There could be 20, there could be 50, there could be 100. And basically, as long as the threshold of those watchers agree. So if K out of N, so if 10 out of 50 watchers agree, we can accept your job and they'll all be paid as well. So now we can build this distributed watching service where you can join this network of watchers and then everyone has a responsibility to respond. So that's nice. And you can punish all of them. If 50 of them don't respond, you can penalize all of them. Which is nice.
Yes. And I'm pretty sure you know that in Seller space they have a state barrier network.
Yeah.
And they kind of have this mechanism that you can can enforce like a group of people united together through some mechanism.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And sort of take each of them accountable, and if one people fucked up, you can just take the next people in turn to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that this is not really necessary to something, like this is not some necessary mechanism to be implemented on the protocol level, but you can just do it in the higher application level?
I mean, when I first designed Peas, I was thinking of doing a similar solution.
Okay.
Where in the smart contract, you could have slots for watchers.
Mm.
And you know, one watcher doesn't respond, then it's the next watcher's turn. But when I was doing that design, I decided it wasn't really necessary at the contract level.
Okay, I see.
Because as long as one of them responds, you don't care when they respond. So I don't think that part is really necessary.
Okay.
But I think what is useful, I mean, there's different ways you can build these watching services. So what they want to do is you send the job out and it will randomly select 10 watchers for you. And that's one way to randomly pick watchers, you know. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have any comments on Plasma?
What?
Comments on Plasma. Which one do you think will come out first? The channel or Plasma?
I think State Challenger going to come out first, without a doubt. Because State Challenger was the most simpler beast to deal with. Plasma is, I like to see Plasma as a non-custodial sidechain. It's basically a sidechain where we don't have to trust the operator. From my understanding, Plasma Cash is a viable solution. But my worry with Plasma altogether is that it's very similar to Bitcoin. What they're really going to be doing is fighting with Bitcoin to get it to do stuff it doesn't want to do, in terms of the UTXO model. Where there's an alternative scheme that I really like now, it's called No Cost by the Liquidity Network. And that's more like a payment hub. So it's account-based and it's state-based. And what's really nice is that their main innovation is that if you have a hub, you has 10 channels, you can adjust the capacity of the channel off-chain. So if I have a channel with Bob, let's say, and this is one coin, and Bob has a channel with Yvonne, and that has 2 coins. If Yvonne pays me 2 coins, Bob can actually adjust the capacity of the channel off-chain. And that's really powerful to do. And it relies on a similar mechanism in Plasma to do this periodic checkpointing to work. So I'm excited for Plasma to see if it's going to work. I think it's going to be really good for payments. For smart contract capability, I'm more worried about it. I don't think they're going to be able to do that in a non-trivial manner. I think for something like No Cost, I think because it's very much like a channel already, it's very much like a payment channel for Ethereum. I think that has potential to build a state channel on top of that in a very straightforward manner. But those are my thoughts. I mean, it's really hard to follow the Plasma research as well. Because now, I don't know if you've seen that diagram of like the 20 different Plasma solutions that exist. So I'm only going based on what I can follow as well. So I could be completely wrong. Yeah. And you're
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that you did discuss about which applications make sense and which.
Yeah. So this sort of, okay, so I guess I forgot to put the slide in. So when you think about using a state channel, you have this new requirement that everyone has to be online throughout the entire lifetime of the application. If we're playing poker and you lose, either we kick you out of the channel, and that requires an on-chain transaction, or or you remain online and you sign every state update. So we really need to start thinking about how to get around those problems of what happens if someone leaves halfway through. Can we do this in a trustless manner? But right now, you require everyone to be online, so that doesn't really make sense for a lot of applications. Like once I place my bid, I reveal my bid, or maybe e-voting, if I cast my vote, I don't want to wait around while everyone else votes. I want to go and leave. So we need an application where everyone who wants to be online, upload its entire application, and the contract also still needs to be reasonable to execute on layer 1. Poker, actually chess and poker aren't great examples. Because if you play poker via the blockchain, you could have maybe 10, 20 moves to do, let's say. And maybe you don't want to wait around for over 100 transactions. So this really comes down to what are state channels useful for? Are they even useful for n parties? Or they only make sense for 2 parties? So yeah, I don't think they're useful for a wide range of applications. They're useful for some. and they will really excel. Yeah.
How does Priestess deal with the settings that there are in parties, more than two? Are you using some signature scheme that the signatures can aggregate down?
It could be. Yeah, you could easily do BLS there. There's no reason why not.
Okay.
And all basically the Pisa tar will do is look at your state channel contract. If there's an aggregated key, you'll just expect one signature and provide that.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I still have a question. That you said the dispute period of the state channel is fixed, right? The dispute period.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if what if the blockchain is too busy to?
No, exactly. So if there's congestion,
Yeah.
then every channel construction today will fail. Plasma will fail, state channels will fail. So this brings me to my research question here, which I believe was here. Here. Can we build a protocol where we can self-inspect the blockchain? So when we're going to resolve the dispute, we can look back and say, were there affordable blocks? And then we care about that. So we can extend the dispute period. Also, I should mention, I forgot to mention it before, one big difference between Plasma and no-cost is that in Plasma, the receiver can be offline. I send a transaction, it gets checkpointed, it's done. Because no-cost is like a state channel, payment channel system, the receiver has to be online to receive payments. You know, they don't actually timestamp transactions, they timestamp the balance of the parties. And that's a big difference in terms of usability as well. I just wanted to throw it out there so that we make it sound like no-cost is amazing. Both Plasma and no-cost have problems and benefits. Yeah. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Essentially.